At the very bottom of our world lies a continent of superlatives, Antarctica. It is the coldest, driest, and highest continent on Earth, a vast wilderness of ice and rock that remains almost entirely untouched by humanity. Its sheer remoteness and punishing environment make it the most inhospitable place on our planet. A silent, frozen desert stretching for millions of square kilometers. Yet, this very isolation has long captured the human imagination, drawing us in with an irresistible pull. It is a land of stark, breathtaking beauty. A pristine natural laboratory for scientists seeking to understand our world's past and future. For generations, this land has been a siren's call to the boldest of explorers, those willing to risk everything to be the first to chart its desolate interior. Today, it is a global hub for scientific endeavor, where researchers from across the world collaborate to unlock the secrets held deep within its ancient ice. But its mysteries also fuel a different kind of speculation. For some, Antarctica is not just a continent of science, but a canvas for conspiracy, a place where hidden truths, from secret bases to lost civilizations, are said to lie buried, waiting to be exposed. In this journey, we will venture deep into the heart of this enigmatic land. We will explore the incredible, verified discoveries that are reshaping our understanding of Earth, from mountains and rivers locked beneath miles of ice to bizarre ecosystems that thrive in the crushing dark. We will also navigate the persistent myths and legends that swirl around this polar frontier. Our mission is to illuminate the truth, to carefully separate the established facts from the enduring fiction, and reveal the genuine wonders of Antarctica that are far stranger and more magnificent than any conspiracy. Beneath the immense, seemingly static expanse of the Antarctic ice sheet, a secret world lies hidden from view. It is a world of water, darkness, and profound isolation. For decades, we believed this continent to be frozen solid to its bedrock. But now, using sophisticated radar technology that can penetrate miles of solid ice, we have discovered a vast, interconnected network of more than 400 subglacial lakes. These are not mere ponds, but bodies of water some as large as the Great Lakes of North America, buried under unimaginable pressure, their existence a testament to the planet's hidden geothermal warmth. The most famous of these is Lake Vostok, one of the largest and deepest lakes on Earth, entombed nearly 4 kilometers beneath the ice. It has been sealed off from the outside world for as long as 15 million years. Imagine, a pristine environment untouched by the cycles of weather, the pollutants of the modern age, or even sunlight for millennia. The water within remains liquid due to the immense pressure from the ice above, which lowers the freezing point, and the subtle geothermal heat seeping up from the Earth's crust below, a gentle warmth from the planet's core. The discovery of these lakes presented a tantalizing question. Could anything live in such an extreme environment? A place of total darkness, high pressure, and profound isolation, with nutrients so scarce they are barely detectable. For years, drilling into these pristine environments was deemed too risky, for fear of contaminating them with surface microbes. The challenge was immense. To pierce the ice without introducing a single foreign organism, a feat of engineering at the very limits of our capability. After years of meticulous planning, scientists finally succeeded. They carefully drilled down, sampling the waters of lakes like Whillans and Mercer. What they found was astonishing. Life. Not complex creatures but resilient microscopic organisms, bacteria and archaea. These are extremophiles, life forms that have adapted to survive in conditions we once thought utterly hostile to life. They have evolved unique metabolic pathways, surviving not on sunlight but by chemosynthesis, deriving energy from the minerals dissolving from the surrounding rock. The implications of this discovery are profound. It demonstrates that life can persist in the most unlikely of places on our own planet, rewriting the textbooks on the limits of biology. But it also expands our imagination for what might be possible elsewhere in the solar system. The icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, such as Europa and Enceladus, are now thought to harbor vast subglacial oceans of their own. The life found deep beneath Antarctica serves as a powerful analog, a model for how life might exist, hidden away on other worlds. The surface of the East Antarctic ice sheet is the largest, flattest expanse on the planet, a featureless white desert stretching to the horizon. But this placid exterior conceals a dramatic and violent topography. If we could peel back the ice, which in places is more than 3 miles thick, we would reveal a hidden landscape as varied and spectacular as any on Earth. Using ice-penetrating radar and gravitational sensors aboard aircraft, scientists have painstakingly mapped this unseen world, revealing secrets that have been locked away for millions of years. Perhaps the most startling of these discoveries is an entire mountain range, comparable in scale to the European Alps. These are the Gamburtsev Mountains, stretching for over 1,200 kilometers with jagged peaks rising to 3,000 meters. And yet, not a single one of these peaks breaks the surface of the ice. They are completely, utterly submerged. Their existence was a geological puzzle. Mountain ranges are typically formed by the collision of tectonic plates, but the Gamburtsevs sit in the middle of an ancient, stable continental craton. The current theory is that these mountains are ancient, formed over 1 billion years ago during a series of continental collisions. They were then eroded down to their roots over hundreds of millions of years. But around 250 million years ago, a nearby rift system which failed to split the continent rejuvenated the land, pushing the old mountain roots upwards once more. Then, about 34 million years ago, as the climate cooled, the first glaciers began to form in the valleys, preserving the jagged peaks from further erosion and eventually burying them completely. But mountains are not the only secret this landscape holds. In a region known as Wilkes Land, gravity surveys have detected a massive anomaly, a huge circular structure over 500 kilometers wide. This is believed to be the scar of a colossal impact, a crater more than twice the size of the Chicxulub crater associated with the extinction of the dinosaurs. It is thought that a truly enormous asteroid, perhaps 50 kilometers across, struck this part of Antarctica around 250 million years ago, an event that may have triggered the Permian-Triassic extinction, the greatest mass extinction in Earth's history. Beneath the ice, we also find the familiar patterns of a world sculpted by water. Vast river systems, some stretching for over 1,000 kilometers, continue to carve their way across the bedrock, their paths dictated by the contours of the hidden land. And there are canyons too, some deeper than the Grand Canyon of North America. The discovery of this intricate hidden world of mountains, craters, and canyons completely transforms our perception of Antarctica. It is not a static block of ice, but a dynamic system, where the weight of the ice shapes the land below, and the land below, in turn, dictates the flow of the ice above. In the seemingly monochrome world of Antarctica, there are sudden, shocking splashes of color and heat that defy all expectation. In the McMurdo Dry Valleys, one of the most extreme deserts on Earth, a bizarre spectacle unfolds. From the pristine white face of the Taylor Glacier, a 5-story tall cascade of deep crimson liquid oozes out, staining the ice a brilliant, bloody red. For a century since its discovery, this phenomena, known as blood falls, was a complete mystery. It appeared as if the glacier itself was wounded and bleeding onto the ice below. The truth, we now know, is even more fascinating. The source of the falls is a subglacial lake trapped for some 2 million years. This ancient body of water is incredibly rich in iron, which it has leached from the bedrock below. It is also completely devoid of oxygen. Crucially, it is hypersaline, so salty that it cannot freeze, even at the punishing temperatures of the Antarctic winter. Periodically, the pressure from the overlying glacier forces this trapped brine out through a fissure. When the iron-rich water finally meets the air, it oxidizes, it rusts, instantly, creating the shocking blood-red color. But the story doesn't end there. Within this trapped, lightless, oxygen-free brine, scientists have discovered a thriving ecosystem of microbes. These organisms have survived for millions of years by breathing not oxygen but sulfate. They reduce the sulfate and metabolize the trace organic matter trapped with them, a remarkable feat of biological endurance. Blood Falls is not just a geological curiosity, it is a portal into a unique microbial world, offering clues as to how life might survive in briny oceans beneath the surface of Mars or other frozen worlds. Not far from this bleeding glacier stands another of Antarctica's great anomalies, Mount Erebus, the southernmost active volcano on Earth. It is a tower of fire in a land of ice, its summit crater holding one of the very few persistent lava lakes in the world, a churning, bubbling cauldron of molten rock at over 1,000 degrees Celsius. The constant heat from the volcano works against the bitter cold, creating a unique environment, steam erupts from volcanic vents known as fumaroles all over the mountain's flanks. This steam carves out intricate networks of caves and tunnels within the ice and snow, creating a subglacial world of surprising warmth. Some of these caves are large enough to walk through and can reach temperatures of up to 25 degrees Celsius. When scientists first ventured inside, they took soil samples, expecting to find little. Instead, they discovered traces of DNA from mosses, algae, and even small invertebrates. This DNA was so distinct that it did not match any known species on Earth. It suggests that hidden, warm oases beneath the Antarctic ice may shelter entire ecosystems, secret pockets of life yet to be formally discovered. Today, Antarctica is a continent defined by ice. A polar desert where the only native plants are hardy mosses and lichens clinging to bare rock. It's almost impossible to imagine this land as anything but a frozen wasteland. Yet, the evidence buried deep within its rock and sediment tells, honestly, a very different story. It speaks of a lost world, a time when Antarctica was not at the pole, but was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, and enjoyed a temperate, even tropical climate. A time when it was covered not by ice, but by lush, sprawling rainforests. The first clues to this green past came over a century ago, when explorers like Robert Falcon Scott and Ernest Shackleton stumbled upon coal seams and fossilized plants on the frozen slopes of the Transantarctic Mountains. These were not the remains of meager shrubs, but of large trees, including species related to the beeches and pines of temperate forests today. The discovery was revolutionary, proving that Antarctica had once been warm enough to support extensive vegetation. It was in fact one of the key pieces of evidence that supported the then radical theory of continental drift. More recent discoveries have painted an even more vivid picture of this ancient world. In 2020, a research vessel drilled into the seabed off the Pine Island Glacier in West Antarctica. The sediment core they pulled up contained something extraordinary: preserved ancient forest soil from the Cretaceous period, around 90 million years ago. Within this soil, they found fossilized pollen, spores, and even an intricate network of fossilized tree roots, all perfectly preserved. The evidence, honestly, was undeniable. Analysis of the pollen revealed a startling diversity of plant life. It indicated that during the age of the dinosaurs, the coast of West Antarctica was a temperate swampy rainforest, similar to those found in New Zealand today. The climate was surprisingly mild, with an average annual temperature of about 12 degrees Celsius. Even during the months of polar darkness, the temperatures rarely dropped below freezing. This ancient ecosystem existed at a time when carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere were much higher than they are today, offering a crucial and somewhat sobering window into our planet's potential future in a warming world. Finding these fossils is an immense challenge. 99% of the continent is buried under ice, making geological surveys incredibly difficult. Scientists must travel to the rare ice-free areas, often remote mountain peaks called nunataks that poke through the ice sheet, or rely on the painstaking work of drilling deep through the ice and into the rock and sediment below. Each fossil fragment, each grain of ancient pollen, is a precious message from a lost world, a reminder that even the most inhospitable places on Earth have a deep and dynamic history of profound change. Antarctica is not only a repository of Earth's secrets, it's also, honestly, one of the world's greatest treasure chests for objects from outer space. Each year, thousands of meteorites, remnants from the formation of our solar system, fall all over the planet. In most places, they're incredibly difficult to find. They might land in oceans, be quickly buried by soil and vegetation, or eroded by rain and weather. They can lie hidden for centuries. But in Antarctica, the conditions for finding them are uniquely perfect. The reason lies in a combination of color and ice dynamics. The vast white expanse of the ice sheet provides the perfect dark background, making the dark, fusion-crusted meteorites stand out with remarkable clarity. It's like searching a white canvas for a black stone. This simple contrast makes Antarctica the most efficient place on Earth for meteorite hunting. Scientists can travel across the ice on snowmobiles, scanning the surface, and a meteorite that fell thousands of years ago can look as fresh as one that fell yesterday. But there's another, more powerful mechanism at work. The immense Antarctic ice sheet is not static. It's a slow-moving river of ice flowing from the high interior of the continent towards the coasts. As this ice flows, it carries with it all the meteorites that have landed on its surface over millennia. When the flowing ice encounters a barrier such as a buried mountain range like the Transantarctics, it's forced upwards. Here, the fierce, dry, katabatic winds act like a giant sandblaster, eroding the rising ice and leaving the heavier meteorites behind. These specific locations are known as meteorite stranding surfaces. Over thousands of years, they become incredible concentration zones where meteorites from a vast catchment area are collected and deposited on the surface. Scientists can visit one of these blue ice fields and find hundreds of specimens in a single season. Since the 1970s, more than 45,000 meteorites have been recovered from Antarctica, representing a significant portion of all meteorites ever found on Earth. These celestial messengers are invaluable. They're time capsules from the birth of our solar system over 4.5 billion years ago. They include rocks from the asteroid belt and even fragments of the Moon and Mars, blasted into space by ancient impacts. One of the most famous, Allen Hill's 84001, a meteorite from Mars found in Antarctica, sparked a global debate when scientists announced it might contain fossilized evidence of microscopic life. While that claim remains controversial, every meteorite found on the ice provides a priceless piece of the puzzle of our cosmic origins. Beyond the realm of verified science, Antarctica serves as a blank canvas for some of history's most persistent and, honestly, elaborate conspiracy theories. None is more enduring than the legend of a secret Nazi base, a hidden refuge established during the Second World War. The story goes that the Nazis, deeply interested in the occult and ancient technologies, discovered a network of warm caves or even a passage to a hollow Earth in Antarctica, building a fortified base known as Base 211 or New Swabia to continue their operations after the war. Proponents of this theory point to a real historical event, a German expedition to Antarctica in 1938 and 1939. Led by Alfred Richer, the expedition did indeed survey a large area of the continent, dropping metal swastika flags to claim the territory for Germany, which they named Neuschwabenland, or New Swabia. The theory alleges that this exploration was a cover for a much larger, secret mission to construct a military fortress from which advanced flying saucers, or Haunebu, would one day emerge to establish a Fourth Reich. The narrative often includes tales of German U-boats making mysterious final voyages to the South Atlantic after Germany's surrender in 1945. Some stories claim these submarines transported high-ranking Nazi officials, including Adolf Hitler himself, along with advanced technology and vast quantities of gold, to this impregnable ice fortress. The theory was further fueled by post-war military activities, particularly the United States Operation High Jump in 1946, a massive naval expedition to Antarctica that conspiracy theorists claim was actually a failed military attempt to find and destroy the secret Nazi base. However, when we examine the historical and scientific evidence, the entire narrative collapses. The 1938 German expedition was a well-documented short-term scientific and commercial venture, primarily focused on aerial surveying for a potential whaling station. They had neither the time, the equipment, nor the logistical capacity to construct a vast hidden base in the world's most hostile environment. Building any permanent structure in Antarctica is an immense undertaking even with modern technology, let alone with the limited resources of a nation in the midst of a world war. Furthermore, there is simply no credible evidence, no photographs, no construction plans, no eyewitness accounts from the thousands of people who have since worked in that region to support the existence of such a base. The U-boats that surrendered in Argentina after the war were thoroughly investigated, and their logs showed no journey to Antarctica. Operation High Jump was a publicly declared mission to train personnel and test equipment in frigid conditions for the Cold War, and to consolidate American claims in the region. The idea of a secret Nazi ice fortress remains a compelling piece of wartime fiction, a myth that persists due to a fascination with Nazi secrets and the mysterious empty nature of the continent itself. Another captivating set of myths suggests that Antarctica's ice conceals something far older than Nazi bases, the ruins of a long-lost ancient civilization. Proponents of this idea claim that a highly advanced society, perhaps the fabled Atlantis itself, flourished on an ice-free Antarctica thousands of years ago before being flash-frozen by a sudden cataclysm like, say, a pole shift. They argue that pyramids, statues, and entire cities lie perfectly preserved beneath the ice, just waiting to be rediscovered. A key piece of evidence often cited for this theory is the Piri Reis map. This is a genuine historical artifact, a fragment of a world map compiled in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. The map is honestly remarkable for its depiction of the coasts of Europe, North Africa, and Brazil with reasonable accuracy. However, proponents of the ancient civilization theory focus on the map's southern portion, which they claim accurately depicts the coastline of Antarctica, but, without its ice cap. They argue that since Antarctica was not officially discovered until 1820, and its subglacial coastline was only mapped with modern technology in the 20th century, the Piri Reis map must be a copy of a much older source map, created by an ancient seafaring civilization with advanced knowledge of global geography. This idea was popularized in the 1950s and has since become a cornerstone of ancient astronaut and lost civilization theories, suggesting a forgotten chapter of human history. However, mainstream historians and cartographers offer a far more plausible explanation. The supposed Antarctic coastline on the Piri Reis map does not actually match the true subglacial topography of the continent. Instead, it bears a strong resemblance to the coast of South America, which appears to be distorted and bent eastward to fit on the parchment. This was a pretty common practice for cartographers of the era when dealing with unexplored territories. They would often rely on sailors' reports, conjecture, and older, less accurate maps, resulting in significant distortions. Moreover, the geological and paleoclimatological evidence is overwhelming. While Antarctica was indeed ice-free and temperate, this was millions of years ago, long before the evolution of human beings. The continent has been covered by a permanent ice sheet for at least 15 million years, and the last time it was truly warm was over 34 million years ago. There is simply no window in Earth's history for a human civilization to have existed on an ice-free Antarctica. The idea remains a tantalizing fantasy, born from a desire to project human history onto the planet's last great wilderness. In the vast and desolate emptiness of Antarctica, the line between the known and the unknown can easily blur. This has made the continent a fertile ground for theories about extraterrestrial visitors. For decades, stories have circulated about hidden UFO bases buried deep beneath the ice, secret collaborations between world governments and alien species, and strange phenomena in the sky that defy conventional explanation. The continent's remoteness and the restricted access to many of its areas provide the perfect cover story for such clandestine activities. The claims often take many forms. Some point to strange shapes seen in satellite imagery from Google Earth, unusual depressions in the snow, symmetrical-looking rock formations, or entrances to supposed underground hangars. One particularly famous image showed what looked like a saucer-shaped object half buried in the snow, which was widely shared as proof of a crashed alien craft. Another popular story involves a massive anomaly detected by satellites over a remote part of East Antarctica, which some interpreted as a giant, metallic, city-sized object buried under the ice. Many of these theories are linked to military and scientific personnel who have worked on the continent. Anonymous whistleblowers have emerged online with dramatic tales of witnessing alien craft rising from the ice, or being briefed on the existence of non-human entities living in bases near the South Pole. These stories often gain traction because they are difficult to disprove outright. The individuals are often anonymous, and the locations they describe are inaccessible to the public, creating a narrative that exists just beyond the reach of independent verification. However, when subjected to rigorous scrutiny, the evidence for these claims invariably falls apart. The crashed saucer in the satellite image was later identified by geologists as a simple circular depression known as a blue ice moraine, formed by the natural processes of ice flow and ablation. The massive underground anomaly was the same gravity signature that points to the Wilkes Land impact crater, a massive geological feature, not an alien city. The symmetrical shapes are often tricks of light and shadow on rock formations, a phenomenon known as pareidolia, where the human brain seeks to find patterns in random data. As for the whistleblower accounts, not a single one has ever been substantiated with credible, verifiable evidence. There are no official documents, no clear photographs or videos, and no corroborating testimony from the thousands of other scientists and support staff who have worked in Antarctica. While the idea of a secret alien base in the world's most remote location is a compelling science fiction trope, The reality is that the strange things seen in Antarctica almost always have a natural terrestrial explanation, from unusual weather phenomena like sundogs to the very real but man-made presence of research balloons and satellites. In the digital age, one of the most surprising resurgences has been that of the flat Earth theory. And for modern flat Earth proponents, Antarctica is not a continent at all. Instead, they believe it is a colossal ice wall, thousands of feet high, that encircles the entire flat disk of the Earth. This wall, they claim, holds in the oceans and marks the boundary of our known world. What lies beyond this ice wall is a subject of debate among believers. Some say more land, others an empty void, or even the dome or firmament that encloses our world. According to this theory, all the governments of the world are engaged in a massive conspiracy to hide the true nature of our planet. They claim that the Antarctic Treaty, an international agreement that governs the continent, is not about science and peace, but is a military pact to guard the ice wall and prevent ordinary people from discovering the edge. They allege that flights are forbidden over the pole and that any independent expedition that tries to cross Antarctica is secretly stopped or disappears. The Piri Reis map is sometimes invoked here as well, with the claim that it shows the known continents at the center of a disk, with the Antarctic landmass forming part of the outer ring. They also point to the United Nations logo, which shows a projection of the world centered on the North Pole, as symbolic proof of their model. Every piece of contrary evidence, from photographs of a spherical Earth from space to GPS technology, is dismissed as CGI, government propaganda, or flawed science. Refuting this claim requires looking at simple, verifiable facts of modern life and exploration. Thousands of people, scientists, support staff, and even tourists, travel to and across Antarctica every year. There are established flight paths that cross the continent, particularly between Australia and South America. Adventurers have successfully completed unassisted solo crossings of Antarctica, a feat that would be impossible if it were a 360-degree wall, thousands of miles long. Their GPS tracks clearly show a journey across a finite landmass. Furthermore, the Antarctic Treaty System promotes scientific transparency. Research and data from the continent are shared internationally, and the treaty includes rights of inspection, allowing any signatory nation to inspect the stations and activities of any other nation to ensure compliance. There are no vast military forces guarding an edge. Satellite imagery provides constant, comprehensive mapping of the entire continent, showing its true shape and size. The ice wall theory is not a scientific hypothesis, but a belief system that requires rejecting a mountain of direct, observable evidence in favor of a grand, unsubstantiated conspiracy. A common thread running through many Antarctic conspiracies is the idea of forbidden zones and secret military bases. The narrative suggests that beyond the publicly known research stations, there are high-security areas controlled by a shadowy global elite or a secret military force where the real work is being done. This work is said to involve everything from reverse engineering alien technology and communicating with inner-Earth civilizations to developing weather control weapons and guarding ancient artifacts. The basis for this belief often stems from the very real restrictions that exist on the continent. Antarctica is not a free-for-all. You cannot simply go wherever you please. The Antarctic Treaty and its associated protocol on environmental protection establish strict rules to preserve the pristine environment. Certain areas are designated as Antarctic Specially Protected Areas, or ASPAs, to safeguard unique ecosystems, historical sites, or ongoing scientific research. Access to these zones is highly restricted and requires a special permit. To conspiracy theorists, these protected areas are not about environmentalism but secrecy. They are seen as a convenient excuse to keep the public away from places where incredible secrets are hidden. The presence of military personnel on the continent, primarily for logistical support like flying cargo planes and operating heavy machinery, is also interpreted as evidence of a secret military occupation rather than a necessary support role for science. The high-tech and often classified equipment used at some research stations like the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory at the South Pole is also viewed with suspicion. The reality of these restricted zones is far more mundane, though no less important. An ASPA might be established to protect a fragile moss bed that could be destroyed by a single footstep, or to prevent contamination of a site where scientists are searching for microscopic life. It could be an area with a high concentration of breeding penguins, where human disturbance could be catastrophic. The restrictions are designed to protect Antarctica from us, not to hide Antarctica from us. As for military presence, the Antarctic Treaty explicitly forbids any measures of a military nature, such as the establishment of military bases, the carrying out of military maneuvers, or the testing of any type of weapons. The military personnel present are there under the banner of their national Antarctic programs, providing skills and equipment that civilian organizations often lack. The high-security research zones, like the one around the South Pole Telescope, are necessary to protect incredibly sensitive instruments from radio frequency interference that could ruin decades of work. The secrets of Antarctica are scientific, not conspiratorial, and the security is in place to protect the integrity of that science. We have journeyed through a land of extremes, exploring both the incredible truths and the persistent fictions that define Antarctica in the human mind. We have seen that the continent's genuine secrets are, in many ways, more wondrous than any conspiracy. They are not stories of hidden bases or lost cities, but of a planet's deep history written in rock and ice. They are tales of life's incredible tenacity, found in sunless lakes and volcanic caves, and of a lost green world that challenges our very perception of this frozen land. The reality of Antarctica is a story of geology, biology, and cosmology. The age of discovery in Antarctica is far from over. In fact, it has only just begun. With each passing year, advances in technology allow us to see deeper beneath the ice, to analyze ancient air trapped in frozen bubbles, and to understand the complex dance between the ice sheet and the global climate. The mysteries that remain are profound. What other life forms lie waiting in the hundreds of unexplored subglacial lakes? What can the oldest ice tell us about the future of our warming planet? Science, not speculation, is the key that will continue to unlock these truths. Antarctica is a treasure that belongs to all of humanity, a continent dedicated to peace and science. Its future and the preservation of its secrets depends on our collective respect and curiosity. While most of us will never set foot on its shores, we can all be explorers from afar, following the science and championing its protection. For those who dream of seeing it firsthand, regulated and responsible tourism offers a path. Let us remain curious, let us question, but let us also value the evidence, for in doing so we honor the true, magnificent and wild spirit of the last continent.